Honey, we are spilling the tea today on the coaching industry. This is not going to make some people happy. And guess what? Zero fucks given. My friend, my client, this entrepreneurial badass and the founder of Breathe Breathwork, the retreats, the membership, the events, Regina Lawrence and I are breaking open all of this stuff that's been gatekept, that was gatekept from us when we first started in the online coaching space. And we are giving you guys the answers to questions that I know that you've been wondering for a long time. You're going to get insider insights. We're going to talk about fantasy marketing, how to uncover potential red flags that go on, and how to navigate this industry wisely as a consumer, so that hopefully you don't get shim sham sharammed like we both have. But typically it's inevitable. Most people that come to work with me, most people that have also come to work with her have had experiences, and it's just part of investing in ourselves. It's part of being in the game of life. But I really want to make sure that you guys know the truth of things, so that if you're someone who wants to be in the healing space, if you're someone who is in that space, if you're someone who's building a business around coaching or a coaching type model, you also know what the reality is, so that you can have fact-checked expectations in terms of like making money and how long it takes to build a community, et cetera, et cetera. So I can't wait for you to hear all of this. And you are going to hear quite a bit about her Breathe retreats, which I'm a speaker at and a participant of. And that link, and you're getting right now, which is so generous of her, she is extending the early bird pricing to ProjectME listeners only. So you can swipe up, and that link is in the show notes. It's also right here on YouTube on ProjectME TV, right inside the description, and all the links to find her as well. Plus, you're getting a $477 free gift from me. I know. And you just have to do something very simple that truly would have been nice if you had already done that before. I need you to write a written review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. I am going to extend this particular special giveaway to people who listen on Spotify, who also listen on ProjectME TV on YouTube, because not everyone I know has an Apple device. But I heavily prefer this written review on Apple, please. You do have to subscribe to the show, follow the show, and you need to write a review. You can, in place of that, do a review and post it on socials, post it on TikTok, post it on Instagram, post it on Instagram stories. And I need to be able to see your name or your handle in the review so we can cross-reference. Take a screenshot of it and simply email it to us at support@projectmewithtiffany.com. These instructions are also in the show notes. Once you do that, I'm going to give you my content creation made easy system, plus my exact printable content planner for free. This is normally $477. This offer is ending soon, so don't procrastinate on it. Even if you need to pause this episode, go do this, and then come back, that's great. Make it happen. Seriously. And then there's also a flash sale on Make More Work Less, my transformational money course that everyone is talking about. First 50 people get $200 off. And if you want to change your relationship with money in order to change your financial life for good, this is where you start. If you're stuck on where to start and you're tired of seesawing, going 5 steps forward, 10 steps back when it comes to money in your business and your life, this is where it's at. And you'll see why very quickly. And you can go to projectmewithtiffany.com/make more work less. Everything is in the show notes. Now pull up a seat, get ready to have the doors of the coaching industry blown wide the F open. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. What I remember, if I went back like 5+ years, even more than that, like even 8 years ago, where I like started seeing people who were saying they were coaches online. First of all, I was like, what the fuck is a coach?
Right.
Like, I didn't like, I'm from the corporate world. Like, I don't understand what that is. And then I would like look at their stuff and I would be like, there's no way she's making money doing this. Like, I like didn't get it and I didn't like fully buy into it. And then I'm like, how is this working? And I would like watch these like OG people doing it and I would make up all these stories like, oh, they already have some big built up following, or maybe like they have a cousin who's a celebrity. You know, there's got to like something. They can't just be a regular person.
It can't just be a regular person that's making all of this money on these little like social media platforms. I was in law school watching this happen. And I was like, and for me, it was really the influencers I started to notice. I said, I went to high school with that girl. There's no way she's buying a fucking Louis Vuitton bag. Like, what is happening here? And we all were kind of like, we dismissed it. We were like, it's bullshit.
That's what I did. That's part of why it took me so long, aside from all of my own self-doubt and not thinking it was possible for me. It was like, I don't know how I feel about this. This doesn't seem solid. Are these people fronting? I wasn't totally sold on it.
I wasn't totally sold on it either. And then when I got into the coaching world and started to like see what they were doing, I was like, I was trying to reverse engineer everything. Like, how are you doing this? How are you making this money? And then that was also the age. Remember the great time of online coaches where people would do photo shoots with jets and cars that they didn't own?
I think people still do this.
They still do, but not like at that time period in like the like 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13. That was the thing. It was like renting bags from Bag, Borrow, or Steal. And renting a fucking Bentley and posing in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yep. And I would go, how are these people? First of all, I'm dying what you're drinking.
I'm drinking okay, I just need everybody to know I'm drinking a Polar Pop, okay? A Polar Pop is from the Circle K gas station. It's Diet Coke. I'm a non-caffeinated girl, so I'm very caffeinated for all of you today.
She's lit, and there may or may not be gummies involved in this episode.
You never know with the two of us together.
Right. Like we just, we go for whatever's in the moment. And the whole point of this is like, so you can hear a real conversation that I know if I heard this episode back in the day, one, I would have started sooner because I would have gone, oh my God, I totally get it. Like I see what they're doing. I get it. Or I would have appreciated the transparency. Same. Because none of this shit was Googleable. And truly, it isn't now either.
No, it's not. The things that we're going to talk about is not Googleable. It's just that we have figured it out from being in the game and being in this world and like seeing what's real and what's smoke and mirrors.
And it is a game and you have to look at it like that. And I don't mean a game like you have to manipulate people, but like I think I look at everything as a game. Social media is a game. Yep. Life's a game. It's a matter of the more you play it, the more you're in it, you learn the different tricks of the trade, you learn how you like to play it, you start seeing nuances of how other people play it. But going back to what you're saying about like these people posing and stuff, I would be like, see, I didn't know you could rent bags. See, I was like naive in that way. Like, so I didn't know. It would never cross my mind to pose in front of a private jet, but you never paid for the private jet flight.
Right.
And it didn't cross my mind. What's funny is my ass was on private jets regularly.
Yeah.
And I don't have one picture of me on a jet and one picture of any of that because I didn't really utilize, social media for myself. And so when I
Mm-mm.
saw these other people doing stuff like this, I assumed it was real.
Yeah.
And I'm
Same.
sure some people, right, for some people, there's some real stuff to it. But I did also make up a story that, oh, you have to be like a heavy baller to be successful in this industry. And like, granted, by all standards, with my other business as an 8-figure business, I mean, you could say I'm a baller, but I wasn't at the level I thought you had to be at. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yeah, I thought you had to be rich, rich. Like I
Right,
so I
like where you're like Kardashian rich. Like I thought you had to be like that, and
Mhm.
maybe the people who made it, you had to have like a certain look because most
Yep.
of these people all like looked the same too.
Look the same, dress the same. It's all the same vibe and aesthetic. I had that same thought, which was also when I started to step into this world. I was like, I don't know if I really fit. I'm not going to show my ass online like
Although if you did, we would be making some serious coin, Like I would be the manager just for your ass.
somebody said to me like, is there a way that we can like tastefully include your ass in your brand? And I was like, I just like, or like your ass workout. I was like, I just don't really think it's on brand or like in alignment with what I'm doing right now. But thank you for the idea.
Yeah, it's the outside looking in, and Regina and I came up with the idea for this episode at her retreat. So she does these breathe retreats, which are amazing all over the world. And I've been to 2 of them. The last one was in Sedona. And one of the things that I would say is the magic of making and manifesting big money is being in, and I'm not going to say like being in the rooms of the right people. Fuck that. I
Fuck
don't
that.
give a fuck.
No.
I don't pay for
Yeah.
any of that shit. I don't care. I'm not about that. It's about the
No.
vibe.
It's the vibe.
The right people in the sense of where you can be real and it's a safe and nurturing environment where you feel you can play, and you do such an amazing
Yeah.
job of like curating that. I mean, I
Thank
like
you.
we need to get me a drum. Like you
Oh,
guys missed, you
I'm
guys missed it. Like
I'm on it for you. You on a drum is like iconic. It is like thinking
I
about
mean,
Tiffany sitting around the fire, playing the drum, the pure joy and bliss that you were experiencing. Iconic.
uh I loved it, and it's like why we need that. It brings out a creative energy, and no, it's not
Yeah.
like you don't have to microdose, you don't have
Mm-mm.
to do any of that stuff, like,
No.
or you can,
Yeah.
whatever suits you. But I like getting into like alternative planes of my brain. And when
Mm-hmm.
you're around a collective of people who are awakened and are willing to do that, you come up with your best fucking ideas. And this is where this episode came out of. We're like, wait a
Yeah.
second. Our conversations are so raw and real that like I would have honestly paid tens of thousands of dollars to hear the conversations you and I have, because it would have
Totally.
saved me years of work and also made me feel a lot less crazy and have taken out like the self-doubt from a lot of things.
Feeling so alone, like when you don't have people to like vibe with and talk about this stuff and realize that other people are having these same thought processes, you literally feel alone on an island.
Yeah, and then it's like then you get in your head, and then it's totally dangerous from there. Like, I don't get how they're doing it. How are they making all that money? I'm gonna be bottom line with you, and then I want, Regina to share the truths that she wish she knew before
Mhm.
getting into it or early on. There's one thing I would say above all else that is vital that none of these bitches talk about. And I say bitches lovingly, like,
Yeah.
and that includes any gender of any sort,
Yeah.
right? Like collective bitches.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
collective of bitches,
Yeah.
is your size and engagement of your audience and community is a direct correlation to your profits. I'm not saying you can't make money with 300 followers,
Right.
but to think you're going to be balling and rolling in it without a consistently increasing audience of people to sell to is a lie. So these people who are like, I just do courses and make passive income and I make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month and I just
Mhm.
travel and chill and like play with my kids and whatever. I'm not saying some of them don't make that, but if you look at their audience size, they'll have hundreds and hundreds of thousands,
Yep.
millions, or they'll have like a solid, collective audience size of 250,000 with a robust $25,000 or 25,000 email list.
Yeah.
And it's like a restaurant. It's like
Totally.
you have a lot of foot traffic with a restaurant versus a restaurant that doesn't, which restaurant's going to make more money?
Of
Even if
course.
what you're selling, by the way, isn't that great, you are going to make more money.
Because it's a numbers game, because you have more people who could be potential purchasers. It's a numbers
Yep.
game.
And so if you are not doing things to get the attention and consistently grow your audience with people who are a good match for buying from you,
Mhm.
it ain't going to happen. And you're going to get stuck at these different dollar amounts and get really frustrated. And so
Totally.
that's one thing that, I do my best with like my clients or my posse business coaching membership, or even like when I'm at like your retreats, when other people were talking about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, if you are not willing to get in the content game and start playing it, then this particular model just isn't for you. No,
Not,
like shame on your part. I want
no.
you to know what's up so you don't waste all this time, energy on and money for
It's
nothing.
Well, and it's also something I think about a lot and I talk about a lot. One of the businesses that I own is a social media marketing agency. And it's not just the content game. The content is the first and foremost thing, right? But secondarily, social media is a community. It's social. And so if you're not going to engage with the people that follow you, like we have a new policy on my personal brand account. Every single new person that follows me gets a DM from my team. It's not from me, it's from my community manager. She welcomes them into my world. She asks them if they'd like a free breathwork class, and she signs them up and she thanks them. And then she says, have you listened to Regina's podcast? I think you'd love this episode. She talks all about breathwork. 9 out of 10 people say yes. They join my list, and my list has grown from. And what I tell people is like, you got to treat it like it's a store. If somebody walks into your store or your living room, you're not going to be like, oh, like, no, you would never do that. You get fired, right? But when somebody walks into your virtual store or your virtual living room, you got to be human and you got to be like, hey, welcome. Thank you so much for following me. How can I serve you? How can I
Right.
support you?
Like, don't try to sell them something. You're actually giving them even more,
Yeah.
which is like a lot of people probably are like, oh my God, like, wow, I can't believe it.
I'm telling you guys, no, almost nobody does this. If you do this from a place of service,
Right.
people are going to be ride or dies. They're going to be
And
like,
from that place, like you said,
service.
energetically, and this is where Regina and I see the old former guard of the influencer of the coach. It
Mm-hmm.
isn't going to make it. It's not happening. They
Nope.
are being phased out. I feel people are more awakened, they're more
Yeah.
sensitive, they're more savvy, they're more aware, they're more discerning, and they can feel if you're coming from a place of true, genuine giving a shit and service, or you have an angle, don't you think?
Well, and I just thought about it like this. The way that the internet and social media has been up until this point has caused a lot of trauma.
Mm.
You, Tiff, as the amazing coach you are deal with the trauma that other coaches have caused in your clients. And when we are so traumatized by something, our spidey senses come up, our intuition develops another layer. we're done with the bullshit. People are done with the bullshit, and
What a great point.
they're
Because we
feeling
become
into it
vigilant,
more.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
and just like in dating, you get screwed over enough times, or you have like shit that happens, you're more aware, you're like even more selective, you
Yep.
see signs of that, right? And it's like
Mhm.
that is absolutely what's happening, because the coaching thing was a new thing, but it's not new anymore, is what you're saying.
It's not new anymore. We've learned the tricks. We've wasted money at times. And I say wasted, I mean, I don't think it's ever wasted. I think there were lessons with it, but we've invested money that didn't serve us to return what we were seeking. And now we are savvy consumers.
I hope you're not going to get mad for me asking you this as you take a sip off your Polar Pop. I'm dead. I call bullshit on these masterminds that have become these popularity clubs.
Totally.
I'm calling bullshit on it. I've called bullshit on it from the beginning. I never was a person into sororities to begin with, and I
Same.
know some of them do a lot of good in this world. I feel what that does is it makes people feel like if they're not part of this certain in crowd, this certain
Mm-hmm.
gang, this certain group, that you can't be a successful podcaster. You can't be successful in a breathwork business, in a healing
Yep.
business, in a coaching business, because you've got to like leverage these different hookups in order to have it and pay a ton of money for it.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. It's this like pay to play mentality. During the season of like renting jets and posing in front of Lambos that weren't your own, people were told this. I wonder who it came from. It came from one of the old white men that started
Sure, it's
Mastermind.
like a Zig Ziglar, like some,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it was
exactly.
like you got to pay to play. You got to pay to get into the room. And it has turned these relationships into they don't really like each other. It's transactional. It's like, what can you give me and what can I give you? I left practicing law because I was tired of being in boardrooms with people that I didn't fucking like. So, why am I going to go into rooms with people who I don't really like to pay to try to get them to do something for me? And then they're going to want something back from me in return. And we don't even like each other.
And that doesn't mean you're going to get something back.
It
So I have
doesn't.
people who come to me and they're like, "Oh, I signed up for this mastermind in hopes of like getting on these certain podcasts, and I had them on mine and they didn't have me on theirs." And I go, "Well, there was nowhere that you signed that there's
No.
some guarantee. It's still free will." But then if it's you set up that expectation, it's like there's an agenda. But like I'm also aware that I probably miss out on a lot of business opportunities because I won't pay to play. I'm so resistant to it.
Yeah.
It turns me off. And I think it's from being in corporate, like the whole
Yeah.
schmoozy networking thing. It's like you, I just don't feel that you have to know the certain right people. Do
Mm-mm.
I feel that you absolutely will have an advantage if you hire the right coaches and you invest in
Yes.
the right things? 1,000%. But you guys listening could go, well, of course you and Regina are going to say that because you also sell these things.
The reason why you pay to hire the right coach is because you hire the coach that has done what you want to do, has gone where you want to go, and you have chatted with other people who have worked with them and know for sure that this person is going to give you the blueprint to help you get there. So yeah, I've hired coaches along the way. I hired Tiffany to be my coach because Tiffany owns a marketing agency and she has a personal brand and a podcast and has built multiple businesses. She's a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I own a marketing agency. I have a personal brand. I have a podcast. I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur. We both like to say fuck, like that's alignment. And anybody I knew that worked with you said she's your vibe, she can handle you, right? So yeah, you should invest in a coach, but don't just fucking invest in the coach online that's going to charge you $100,000 to work with them for
So
a
that
year.
you can get existential life codes from the 57th dimension,
You know what I'm talking about.
and they speak to you so seductively and ethereally, and you want to have, you're just so allured by it. If you want someone to tell you the how and the steps, a lot of these people won't even tell you that. They word salad you, or
Word
you pay
salad.
to be in the thing, and you have to own your part too. Because when people come to me and they start throwing shade at stuff, I go, you got to own your part too. You bought into the fantasy marketing. Unless it said on
100.
their website, on their sales page, right? You're going to
Right.
learn exactly how to do blank. You're going
Mhm.
to, if it doesn't say that, then you're paying for proximity. And listen, there's a lot of people, especially in the network marketing world, who have made a fortune on proximity where they
Totally.
pay for that. I I don't have the energy for it. I'm a natural like introvert. I'm highly sensitive. I'm an empath. I'm very selective of who I'm around. And you know what I love, honest to God, the most about your retreats? Number one, I never have to worry. Like, I know it's already being vetted,
Yep.
right? Like, just like I vet my mastermind.
Yep.
Number two, I'm not coming there to fucking network. That's not what
No.
we're doing. I'm not coming there with an agenda of what can I get? I'm actually coming with, if any agenda is, how can I be of service? And I'm excited and open for the experience. And I trust that whatever it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be.
That is actually how I believe we should be approaching everything with our businesses. I don't care what your business is. If you're a coach, if you're an agency owner, if you're a network marketer, if you're in the healing world, your approach to everything should be connection, community, and growth. And if your approach is not of that, which I consider of the, if you hear me say of the highest in the space, that's what I mean. You might be able to muscle your way through, honey, but it's not going to get you to the level that you could get if you swallowed your ego, let it die, opened your heart, and really sought these beautiful, soulful, juicy connections with human. And just your humanity, your life on this planet is going to be so much better. Like, so
I
much
mean,
better.
didn't you feel when you were at my mastermind, like there's no way you felt that was like networking? I mean, we had doctors there, we had multimillionaires, we had people just starting, we had a published author where I didn't even know she had a fucking book until the end, because
Totally.
that creates a different type of environment. I don't believe that breeds genuine connection and support. I feel like
Mm-mm.
that would put my nervous system as like newscaster tiff. That's how
Totally.
I would enter the room, right?
Totally. Litigator Regina. That's how I would feel in that space. And I want to share being in the space of your retreat, being there to serve, to hold space, to connect. As a result, women from your retreat have reached out and said, hey, I'm interested in coming to your retreat. I really like your energy and I really like how you show up in a space. I wasn't there to sell anything except for to be of service.
And we don't have to.
No,
We don't
that's
have to.
how.
And we don't have to. And I have my signature program, Selling with Soul, but that's what I mean is you being genuine and showcasing your stuff and being of service, that sells it for you.
It sells it for you. That's the heart of everything. And it doesn't, you don't have to be in a physical space to do that. You can be on your Instagram or your TikTok and you just show up in your authentic self. The thing that we often need help with, which is what I hire mentors for, is to figure out how can my most authentic self show up and like really share about the stuff that I'm offering the world,
Right.
you know?
Because just showing, like, if I just showed up, and apparently now I'm a skin influencer on TikTok, which I don't ever talk about my skin, but this is to your point.
Bitch, of course you are because your skin Guys, if I know a lot of you haven't met Tiffany in real life, when you see her on Instagram, and I thought this before I met you, I'm like, God, this bitch, like, what filter is she using? Her skin is so good. And then you see her in real life and you're like, you have a real life filter. Like you're like, of course you're on Skin Talk now.
I was like, and it's funny though, because which I might experiment with, if I throw up like a little TikTok shop link to something,
You
even
have
though
to.
I never mention it, never mention anything about skin in my videos, and I'm talking about money, manifestation, making money online, I bet you there'd be another passive revenue stream right there.
1000%.
But where I was going with it is, yeah, you coming on social media and emails and packaging your offers, and you're like all over the place. No, there's got to be a curation and a strategy behind your content marketing. You can't just, you don't want to just let go, oh, let's look at what all these other, people are doing in the permanent makeup space. What are all these other people doing in the healing space? Guess why? You're just going to be more of the same shit.
You got to stop looking at what other people are doing. There is a sweet spot between showing up authentically and sharing your shit. And that's what you have helped me with as a coach. That's what mentors help you with, to see, because we a lot of times can't see it ourselves. I run social media and do high level strategy for people. I need somebody else to help me do that for myself because I can't see my own shit. And so somebody can come in and be like, this is your sweet spot. This is your genius. This is how you show up, and not be like fucking Polly the influencer.
And it's not going to work anymore. And quite frankly, it's not working now. But where I think the old guard of the influencers are being weeded out, and like it, hate it, there's some cons to the TikTok that we all know about. But
Totally.
it is weeding out these people who are, mega on Instagram, mega on Facebook, maybe even like popping over on Pinterest. They're getting zero traction. They even have
Mm-hmm.
huge podcasts, and they're
Yep.
getting zero traction on TikTok. Why? Because I believe that audience is much more awakened and is no tolerant for bullshit, and they can smell it out. They can smell out if you're performative. You can't be performative on there.
Mm-mm.
And sometimes when I'm tired, if I'm tired or I'm going through shit and I start going, I need to like, give some videos to my team. You literally could go, you guys, if you're bored, can go on the account and you can look at I think it shows my numbers. You can
Yeah.
look at my numbers. I mean, I'm talking 50 to 70% down in views. And I look and I know I'm like, I was, went in a little bit newscaster Tiffany, right?
Yep.
But it all comes back to my energy. And that's the other thing I want to talk about, is that if someone had told me even 5 years ago, and I'm sure people did, and I laughed at them, where they
Mm-hmm.
were like, your energy is everything, energy. And some of it's how people package it. Like, that's why
Totally.
there's room for all of us in the space, because not to say some of these people weren't giving accurate information. I couldn't hear them because they're like howling under a moon, and like, I just couldn't do it. Like, they
Right.
were using like NLP techniques to try to manipulate me, and I could feel
Yep.
it. And like, I couldn't hear them even if their information was good. But really, now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Energy is everything, because
Mm-hmm.
if my energy vibe is off, that doesn't mean I have to be like super energized that day or whatever. But if I'm in like a scarcity, frustrated, annoyed with everyone place, that absolutely flows through every piece of content I do.
My brand strategist said it to me perfectly this week. She said, Regina, when you show up on TikTok, your intention, you need to be solid in your intention. And your intention with every video you make is, how can I show up and hold healing space? I'm a breath worker and a sound healer. How can you show up and hold true healing space for every single person on that platform that will encounter you? So, whatever your niche, your business is, what is the highest way you can show up in service, and think about that and step into that energy as much as you can every time you create content. People will feel and know the difference.
Yeah. I mean, the reason you're listening to this episode is you feel that. You feel that from listening, and you're tired of the bullshit and you don't want to be bullshitted. And the same basic messaging you hear from personal development people or whatever, like it's nice to hear, some repeat messaging, but like
Yeah.
we need a fresh take to things. But what I find so interesting, and I'm curious in your thoughts on this, why is it that some of the most basic as fuck people have the most the most sales on books, the most downloads on podcasts, and then I'll go to like try to listen and absorb because I'm open and willing to always learn, and I can't listen to it. I'm like, this is like 101 shit. Like, why is that? Why is there that like mass basic appeal still?
Because there's always a new class of people rising up, and that basic, simple information is always going to serve somebody. Also, people who are really basic, they are non-threatening. They are not polarizing. Polarizing people trigger your shit. You trigger people's shit when you talk about manifestation, and that it gets to be fucking easy. I trigger people's shit when I say, bitch, breathe. All you have to do is breathe. No, because then all of a sudden, all the stories that people have created about making money is hard. I'm going to be unhealthy for the rest of my life. I'm always going to be stressed. This is my subconscious identity. We're challenging that. And that is fucking scary. But when you're building a brand like this, it's the people who need it. Like, that's the medicine their soul needs. They hear it and they're like, they might be triggered, but they're like, ooh, what's this chick talking about? And the people who aren't ready for it, they're not ready for the medicine.
I love how you said it like that. And everyone's at a different level, and we're not for everyone, and trying to be for everyone is one of your fastest ways to fail. And I
Mm-mm.
think a lot of people do it from a good space. I see it a lot with my
Yeah, so do I.
healers, with my creatives, where I don't want to leave anyone out and I don't want anyone to think I'm not for them, but you aren't for everybody.
You're not for everyone. I have always said in my real life, I'm like cilantro. You either fucking love me in your guacamole or you hate me. And even in my own personal brand, you and I talked about this week. My next level of ascension in stepping into this brand is just being fucking cilantro.
Yeah. And it's like, I couldn't imagine not having you in my life and having that right feeling. Like, I don't want anything less than that, than those types of friendships and those types of clients and those types of people. So it's hard for me to comprehend. But that goes back to, right, there's a room for all of us. It's like, oh, I want to do breath work, Regina. I want to get certified by you. I want to do this. But like, there's so many people doing breath work. I want a podcast, Tiffany. So many people are podcasting. There's always room for fresh and real.
Always room for fresh and
You didn't know, no one knew who the hell I was until they did, right? No one
exactly.
knew who in hell you were until they did.
Mm-hmm.
So
And now,
what can you do that's fresh and real?
mm-hmm.
It's it's actually really showing up as truly you. Like
Huh?
the gummy THC buzzed you, the wine
Mm-hmm.
buzzed you, the cunty you,
Yep.
moody you, all different layers of you. That that's what's fresh.
And that is also why a lot of you are procrastinating. You're building your brand and showing up in your fullest and your highest and your truest, because that those versions of you are, they're scary and you haven't fully come to terms with all of them. And that's why, like, building a brand and showing up is a self-development journey. You got to deal
Oh
with
God, yes. And I did not know that. Given I had a million years of therapy, I was an outpatient program. I did not realize the level of vulnerability, creating a personal brand, and the layers of stuff that it would bring up and still brings up to this day, that if
Yep.
I did not have multiple coaches and I did not address it, I would not still be here. There certainly wouldn't be growth. Like for me, I had no idea I had a fear of visibility. I mean, I'm a former TV newscaster. Like or really, if someone told me about, oh, you have clearly have a fear of visibility, I would have laughed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a fear of visibility past a certain level, like I had a set
Yeah.
point of visibility, and it
Yep.
still comes up. And if I didn't have someone helping me see what I couldn't see,
Mm-hmm.
I would be in deep trouble because I
Yep.
couldn't see it. And it was like I started self sabotaging when I went viral. And you remember this on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok. I was literally in a fetal position for a week in my house. I didn't want to leave my house.
Yep.
I was terrified. And thank God that happened, how it happened for me, so I could learn what was going on. Cause then I started judging myself. What's my problem? What's the big fucking deal? You asked for this, you manifested
Yeah.
this, you wanted this. Now you're seeming so ungrateful to it, Tiffany. And then I'm shaming myself about it. And it's because I wasn't allowed to shine growing up with a narcissistic mom. That was dangerous. I had to shine, but I couldn't shine too bright.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think I did in my business? I shined, but I made sure it
It's
wasn't
not
too
too
bright.
bright. Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
gotta work on this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you can have some success, but you'll stay like stagnant at certain levels.
You'll stay stagnant. For me, it was like my little girl felt like she had to show up in perfection because she grew up in such an imperfect home that the perfection was the safest thing to present so people didn't know the real me. And I've had to work with that little girl to be like, honey, you're safe. Like, and people aren't going to like things that you say, and that's okay. Like, I always say, like, fuck them, not in like a negative way, but like, fuck them, whatever. Like, but
Yeah,
I've
it's
had to
like the
do that
zero
work.
fucks given, right? That's where that came about. It was for my
Yeah.
personal brand. I didn't used to say that. I came up with that where I'd be like, zero fucks given, because that's all I would be
Yeah.
thinking is, oh my God, I look really puffy. My weight fluctuates and I don't
Mhm.
look like so and so. And it's like, I'm sorry, but like if no one's hiring me because of like how I look. And you and I have a lot of conversations about Ozempic.
We do. We talk about Ozempic a lot.
It's like, what? I think that actually this ties to that. There is an epidemic of Ozempic, okay? Like going
Everyone's on it,
on.
guys. Everyone's
Everyone's
on it.
on it. Like I would say like fair to say even 90% or more celebrity, especially female celebrities and influencers and coaches are on
Yeah,
it. And I mean, Oprah won't say she's on it, but obviously Kelly Clarkson, it's like
obviously.
it's just you don't drop. That's not possible. Okay.
No.
And I think that this is tied with like the perfection and visibility, like that I have to be perfect, that I have to be a certain type of way if I want to go to my next level of success or maintain this success. There's something underneath that, because why would you take a medically unnecessary drug when in order, I understand some people obviously need it, but
Yeah.
why would you take that otherwise?
And the thing that's so interesting about Ozempic is that we as women, and I'm speaking just for the women who are doing this, we as women have fought for so long that as we've been doing that and growing and taking up more space, all of a sudden we're shrinking ourselves again to take up space. It's like everything we've worked for, and now let's make ourselves smaller, because guess what, as we start to make ourselves physically smaller, let's see how much smaller energetically we get. I don't want to be fucking small. I was small my whole life, you know?
I'm having a shooketh moment right now. This makes so much sense. It's like we've grown probably to our most powerful as a
Mm,
collective, as women in the
Yep.
business world in terms of, share of voice.
Hmm.
Um, and it's it is a subconscious way to shrink back down.
We're not only shrinking our physical bodies, when somebody is on Ozempic, you cannot consume more than 5 to 700 calories a day. You are setting your nervous system that so many of you have worked for lifetimes to regulate. You are setting it on fucking fire. When your nervous system is on fire, it impacts your brain, it impacts your hormones, it impacts every part of your body. And we're just shrinking ourselves again.
This is so fascinating. It's like maybe ask yourself the question, am I doing anything that is could potentially be keeping myself small?
Mm-hmm.
And consciously, like, it might not come up right away, so like pose that question to like the universe and ask for it to lovingly point it out to you,
Yeah.
because like me not putting out my guided workbook course,
Mm-hmm.
that was a way to keep myself small, right? Like, share, that's a way to like not put my voice out there in that
Yep.
way. There's some things that I procrastinate doing for the podcast that subconsciously is a way of keeping my visibility down and small. Even though I'm saying I want this, that, and the other, and I want to help as many people as possible. And that's true. But it's like my nervous system and my inner child is fighting against it.
Yep. Because there's like a belief for a lot of us that small equals safe. When I am small, I can be protected, I can be safe. And that's just not a true story. Like being small doesn't keep you safer. It just makes you think you have control and you never have control.
That's so true. What would you say about things that you wish someone told you about, like having an online based business, or even an, like, whether it's a personal brand or it's like a brand that you are the founder of online, that no one fucking talks about? You can't Google it. What are some of those things that like you wish someone told you, but you had to learn it the hard way?
You need to give yourself at least 3 to 5 years to be all in, fully committed to build the brand and the business that you want. So many people sold me this dream of like 100K in 90 days. And like they gave me these numbers. And so it sets an expectation that it's going to happen really fast. It can happen very quickly. But if you start the mental game with, I am wholly, fully devoted for the next 3 to 5 years to this and to the evolution of this and to the lessons, you cannot fail. I wish somebody told me that.
I love that. And it sounds like 3 to 5 years. Well, you've also wasted 3 to 5 years doing a bunch of nonsense and hiding. I mean, it took me 10 years to start Project Me with Tiffany Carter, all
Yeah.
in fear, nonsense, self doubt. Is this going to be worth it? I mean, I have no idea where, now we're in 2024, but like, I have no idea where 2023 went. We were in a time warp. I swear to God. It's like we
Yeah.
came from where us like years where time was like slowed down and like felt frozen. And
Mm-hmm.
then we got like sped up in 2023. It freaked me the fuck out. I don't know about you, but it
It
still
freaked me the
freaks
fuck
me out.
out. Yeah, because like the illusion of time is like we had such slow times 2020 and like the years that and then like after 2020, 2021 was still pretty fucked. And then 2022 we're starting to feel a little normal again and then 2023 is gone.
It's
Where where
gone.
where to go?
And time goes by so fast. Like, I can't believe I've had my podcast out 5 years. Like, that's crazy. But if
Mhm.
someone told me in the beginning, you've got to be in this for 5 years, I would have been like, I don't know if I'm in it for 5 years. But what I told myself is a year,
Yeah.
like a year at a time. But I agree with what you're saying. If mentally this is a long term play,
Yep.
you don't show up energetically desperate. You don't get as much crazy brain because the
Mm-mm.
expectations have been set of what is reasonable and normal. Because I
Yep.
think what happens with people is they take a program, they take a course, they do a mastermind, and then they're like, but it's not working. Nothing's working. I've been doing, Tiffany, I've nothing's working. How long have you been doing this? I don't know. I've been doing it a year, but then I took 2 months off and blah, 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 da, 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 da. And I go, how long have you been doing it where you're like, this is like a full on deal? Like,
Yeah.
I'm treating it like how I would if I were an employee of a company. Like,
Yep.
how long? How many weeks have we strung together? Or is it an on and off again relationship?
Right.
And it's always on and off again. And people take their foot off the gas when they're
Mhm.
not getting that external validation. And I got to tell
Totally.
you, that shit, at least for me, I was not blessed with getting that initially.
Mm-mm.
I didn't. Some people, and I've coached people, and I know people that they did get lucky and they got it pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did you get it quickly?
No, because I had so many like variations of what I was doing and what I wanted to do and figuring out what I wanted to do and figuring out where my strengths and my gifts were and dealing with my trauma. Like the past 4.5 years of being a business owner, I have done the deepest healing work. And so I would say 2 years of the 4.5 put together were actually spent me really doing deep trauma healing. And doing that deep trauma healing led me into the big work that I do now. Like, so it none of it was wasted, but 2 years of it was spent in the shit, in the ego, in the death, in the drug addict childhood bullshit, trying to work through it.
Yeah. I mean, it brings up all of your stuff, and you can go, God, you guys sound so negative about it. And I would tell you, it's the best thing you'll ever do.
The
Like,
best thing.
right? Like, it's kind of like when I mean, we aren't parents of human children, but like, when you talk to parents, they'll complain and they'll tell you all the things, and they'll go, but it's the best thing I've ever done. Right?
Yeah.
It's the same as it is to have a personal brand or something you founded, because no one can fucking take it away from you. It's
Yeah.
yours. It's the most fulfilling, exciting, exhilarating, and maddening and frustrating. I mean, literally just this morning, I was walking, talking to myself, which is common. So if you see me out on the loose, like if you see me talking to myself, don't interrupt me and don't record me. But if you record me, send it to me because it'd be
Send
fun.
it over.
And I was like, I fucking hate this. Fuck everybody. I'm quitting. This is stupid. This isn't worth it. But I just need to vent it out.
Totally. Got to get
Do
it
I
out.
really mean it? At the moment, I'm very annoyed to think that growing something that can make you life-changing money that feels
Mhm.
fulfilling and juicy and
Yeah.
incredible and gives you so much free time and space in your life, to think that that does not come with any hard days. So
Totally.
if someone's telling you that, they're lying. They're giving you fantasy
Mhm.
marketing. And if you're telling yourself that, that's not good either.
No.
That's like saying, oh, you're going to have like this extra fit body and be super toned and snatched in all the right places, but like you don't have to work out. Yeah, you can take Ozempic and lose some pounds, but you also lose a ton of muscle. And if you're
Yep.
not working out, go like Google Ozempic face and you'll see what that looks like.
You'll see what that looks like. Yeah.
There
Hmm.
is no, you can't have this without that. It's just like you can't have an incredible friendship, an incredible relationship without there being work, without it bringing up stuff.
It is the polarity of life. As much darkness as you have and go through, you have that much space for light. Like it's as quote unquote hard or difficult or challenging things are, and you move through it and you get on the other side of it, there's that much more space for joy and bliss and happiness and excitement. It is the polarity of life is the same thing in your business.
I love that. I'm trying to think of what other things. I think people want to know about followers. If it were me in the beginning, I'd be like, how do these bitches get all of these followers? Like,
Okay,
how do
so
they do that? Because, like, I mean, I remember because I put my heart and soul into it. I mean, it took me a long time to like craft each post or each video in the beginning because I didn't hire anyone for 6 months to help me
Yeah.
with that. And I remember watching people and even people who weren't in the game that long. And I'd be like, how is this person getting all these comments and likes on their stuff? Like, I think my shit's pretty good. What am I missing?
There is layers to the follower question. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this because again, I own an agency, and one of the first questions that clients ask is like, how many followers can you grow me per month? Is the first question.
Oh, interesting. I think I've asked that before.
People ask that question. Okay, there's a few layers to this. The first layer is I want to ask people, when did you start your Instagram? The people who started their Instagrams during the wild, wild west of 2009, when Instagram dropped and there was a fraction of followers on the platform, got that big, like they grew. Like one of my girlfriends has like 90,000 followers. She has barely grown in the past like 7 years. She said, baby, I grew those followers during the good old days of 2009 to 2013 Instagram. That's one way. If they're old school OG Instagram influencers, coaches, that's where they came from. Number two, there was a period of time, I think we're out of it. People might still do it, where people bought their followers.
It's $1 billion a year industry, and people still do this.
And there was a time back in the wild, wild west of Instagram where Instagram wasn't keeping up with it. So you weren't penalized. And so you could buy Kim Kardashian. I remember when the Kardashians were buying followers and growing exponentially, and you weren't penalized. Now, if you buy too many followers and then Instagram compares your following count to your engagement, your account will not do well on the algorithm. So OG people had big followers, purchasing followers. There's also this thing that people do where they do, and it's not as big anymore, but again, 2009 to 2013, 14, 15, the giveaways.
I tried.
You know?
Find the post. And then I tried the giveaway. It's like a giveaway loop.
Yep.
I got the jankiest
followers. Like the bottom feeders where like somebody can say like, hey, let's give away a bunch of like AirPods. And everybody chips in money, but to get the AirPods, to get like a ticket and the ability to win it, you have to follow every account in the loop, and you have to like and comment on a certain amount of posts. And the followers we got from doing that were just like trash. It was just people who wanted AirPods, not like people who wanted to follow me. So that's like, those are old school ways that people have built followers. Today, people are building followings much slower than ever before, because you're competing against so millions upon millions upon millions on the platform putting out content. But still, I follow a girl who just went viral, and she went from out good, consistent, on brand content that she figured out her audience liked, and that bitch did it every day. And
I mean, our friend Andrea,
oh my gosh.
She started from zero. She's open about this, so I'm not outing her. The highest point ADHD person I've ever met in my life. Okay. So this is not some hyper focused person. A lot of the content she shares is repurposed content from other accounts that she credits.
Yeah.
And she grew very quickly and went viral a couple times. So it's still a thing, but she's hyper niche. She's hyper focused on the subject matter she talks about and stays in that zone. And also energetically, whether she's aware of this or not.
Yeah.
I have several clients who've gone viral starting from almost nothing. I have a teacher who started literally from zero, and she's at like 37,000 now. And we just finished 2 months of coaching together. There's a detachment. It's kind of like you said, right? Like knowing this is a long game. There wasn't like, how many people like this post? Why don't I have more followers? I need more followers. I'm not okay if I have more followers. I'm not going to be successful if I have more followers. It was a detachment. It was truly like, I'm putting this out. I think this is fun. I think this is funny. I think this is helpful. And like moving on to something else. That would be a common thread, I would say, of the
Uh-huh.
people I coach or the people in my posse membership who have mega success is
Mhm.
the detachment, don't you think?
The detachment, they're going to just keep doing it. And it's like, and that's how you have to be. Like, if you keep creating content that is energetically in alignment and on brand for your business, you are eventually going to have a piece of content that goes viral. Maybe it happens tomorrow, maybe it happens next
Yeah,
year,
I'm like,
whatever.
I mean, look what happened to me on TikTok, right? Like I was
I
on there for
know.
6 weeks. That's it,
Mhm.
you guys. And I went viral with a video that was 3 years old. But
Yep.
I was energetically, I was all in on that. I did not go in there until I was all in, and I was
Yep.
committed for the long haul. And how I committed was I said, okay, I'm going to put energy, time, focus, and money. Notice
Mhm.
I said money.
Yep.
Okay. I hired someone to make sure that I trained the algorithm and was guided on that specific platform. Okay. So I put all that in there. And then I was like, I need to see that there's growth over a course of 6 months.
Yep.
I didn't say I have to go viral in 6 months. I have to da 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 da. No, I just need to see that I need to see that there's an upward trend of growth.
Totally.
Otherwise, you set yourself up for pure insanity.
Literally, and this is what I say to my clients. Like, I always say, when you look at your metrics, like, as long as you're in the green with the growth, you're good. I had a client recently who, like, literally is barely giving us content. We're like repurposing old content over and over again, and she's every month in the green, and she doesn't understand why she hasn't gone viral yet.
It's
I'm
like
like, bitch, this.
you're not giving us anything
I was like, you're not
fresh.
giving it any energy, and you're still great.
Right. It's like the
Like,
expectations are way off.
mhm.
And I think it's, I do attribute some of that to all the fantasy marketing that's going on. Fantasy marketing's been around since the beginning of time, right? Like it's heavy
Always.
in the health industry. And now I see it obviously a lot in the, money, business, growing
Mhm.
social media, making money online. There's a lot of that there. What really bothers me, if you really want to get me on a tangent, it's I'm seeing the fantasy marketing in the spiritual and healing world. That's very, I mean, and I imitated it's Farrah, the fantasy marketer. Like I can laugh at it because that's how I like deal with things, but
Yeah.
it also pisses me off because it can be very dangerous. I mean, truly, if you do not do breath work I'm going to get the terms wrong, but like in a proper way, you
Yeah.
can leave someone in an activated, fucked up state, can't you?
You can leave someone wide open. Like, we talk about the opening and the closing of a container. And the opening and the closing of a container, what I mean is, like, if I'm holding a session for somebody and I'm doing this intense breathing with them and I'm energetically opening them up and trauma is coming up and things are moving up and out and loops and cycles are closing, I then have to, like a surgeon, close them up, stitch them up, make sure they have their antibiotics and their meds, and send them on their way. A lot of people in the healing space do not know how to do that, and they are leaving people wide open, and then we have people like re-traumatized, like more fucked up than they were to begin with.
I
That's why
had
I
this happen
say,
from a somatic healing coach. And
yeah.
given I've experienced a lot of body trauma, sexual trauma, I'm telling you, it took me 6 weeks to regulate from
Of
that.
course it
And
did.
this is someone who had all the whatever credentials, certifications,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And so I just based it on that. Wow. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, wow. It was too deep, too fast. And
Too
that's
deep.
what concerns me about the marketing I see, where it's
Yeah.
like, come on this retreat for 3 days and do mother's medicine. And you're going to release your not only your trauma, but generational trauma.
Yeah.
First of all, if something sounds too good to be true, it is. Like my
Mm-hmm.
father taught me, that's like an old adage for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think my rich ass would it be would have gone on a retreat, even if it was $500,000, if it really did
Right.
that?
If it really did that.
I would, I mean, even if I wasn't rich, I would find any means possible to go, which some people do. If that really worked, that you we can't. That's spiritual bypassing. That's someone using marketing in the healing world, and it is so dangerous.
I had my sound healing instructor who taught me how to be a sound healer was like laughing about the chakras. And he said, that person that's going to tell you like your root chakra is blocked. And me playing this root chakra bowl is going to clear the root chakra for you. And he started laughing. He goes, guys, if it was so easy to clear your root with a bowl, he was like, everyone's root would be fucking pristine. Okay. Like, no, like, and when they make it sound like our trauma has come over a lifetime. I was actually just talking about it this weekend. Before I started doing this work for myself, I had 27 years of trauma. I feel like I am just like moving through the deepest layers of it after being in this work for years. So somebody saying you can come and have a breathwork session and we're going to not only deal with your trauma, but your whole lineage in a session or with a fucking sound bowl, you gotta go. You can't, don't sign up for it.
But it's so alluring. And I mean, Regina and I like watching these people, which we won't name because we don't want to get sued, but like we watch these people for entertainment and bewilderment. I'm like, how is this person not in prison? And I mean, some of these people finally get called out, but what's crazy is the amount of people who are mesmerized by these people. It's almost cult. It's like culty vibes to me. Well, and I don't get where is the, because you've done a lot more of these types of practices and credentials. Is it that these people learn some of these healing modalities and are using them in an inappropriate way? Is that what is making these people so alluring? Because I'll tell you, not that I know better than to buy anything from them, but I even find myself like kind of mesmerized when I watch these people and even how they move and like the ethereal sound in their voice. And they have like a cadence to them. Or is it just that I'm whack?
No, it's like, why did Charles Manson have a following? Because he was like a hot hippie who said the right words and elicited a feeling and used psychedelic drugs. If you can make somebody feel some kind of way, that's what a lot of marketing is. It's like, I see you where you're at. I can meet you. I can make you feel I can give you a taste of how you want to feel. And to feel it fully, you got to come in here and work with me. It's the same thing as a fucking cult that was a serial killer. Like,
so you're saying like it's taking like traditional good marketing and it's using it in a manipulative way.
100%.
Do you think that's where, because now I'm seeing this trend. You guys have to let us know if you're seeing this. This is like the latest one I'm seeing, where people are like heavily using sex and sexuality in their marketing and branding. God. Like I'm talking heavily, like where programs even have like, you know, like the wet emoji for like orgasms, like they're using like those emojis. And if your offer doesn't make you wet and want to come, then you shouldn't be delivering that offer. And they're like lots of sexual stuff. And is it because the old advertising line of sex sells? Is that what's going on here?
We've taken sex sells and we've just made it fucking straight sex, baby. And this is coming from a girl. Like I am the most sex positive girl.
Like she can turn on Ice Cube.
I was at a sex party last weekend. I told Tiffany about it.
I'm going. Like this woman's coming on the show. I'm like so in.
Like I'm very sex positive, but there's something in the way. I always say it's in the energy, how something makes you feel, and how I have friends who will use sexuality. They're sex coaches and they use sex and pleasure and how they talk and how they move and the way they say things. And you're just like, oh yes. Like, and then other people do it and you're like, Oh, it's like you walked in on your mom having sex. You know, like,
Okay, I see what you're saying. It's like you're saying like you have to pay attention to how it makes you like feel in your
how does it
body.
how does it make you feel in your body? And like a lot of these people have realized there's a certain person that you and I know. We talked about this person recently. And I just noticed that like she had one business and now everything's about sex. And I think it's because she realized that she gets more likes and she gets more engagement when she shares about sex and kink and stuff, you know? And I feel it from her. It
Right.
doesn't feel like this is
It's
something.
not, it's coming from a space of actually scarcity
Yeah.
versus abundance, right? Abundance is I want to help women or men like get in touch with their sexuality, heal wounding around it, blah blah blah. Like that's from a place of abundance, but it
Yeah.
coming from scarcity is, oh, this is what's working. I need to do this in order to sell more. I need to do this in order to get more views.
Yeah. And also, like, something about the sex selling thing just pinged in for me. Sex, when you get into sexuality, sexuality is not porn. Okay. Talking like this and having this voice, that's porn that was created by the man. When we hear women that are like, that's not sex. Sex and sexuality that is truly authentic is like, it's like raw and real and authentic. This sex that we see is like the sex created by the man, the porn industry. And now let's appeal to the lower levels of people to get them in. That's not as the more I get into the world of sex and sexuality, sex is raw and it can be rough and it's vulnerable. It's not clean. It's not pinned up and oh, me in this lingerie. That's just what the fucking man is selling you. So when I see these chicks that the way they're selling their sex is like in that like porn star man-made turn the man on kind of way, okay. It's not real. That I just the distinction just popped into my brain as
Yeah, and
we were
I'm
talking
glad
about
we're
it.
talking about it because I know if I had seen that 5 years ago, it might have made me not come into the space because then I would have gone, oh God, now I've got to do that in order to like grow an account. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, that's not my vibe. Like, I
No,
don't want to have to do that. And you don't have to do that, right? It's
you
just
don't.
like if it is, there's a lot of wildness out there. And if we bottom lined it for you, you got to do you, boo, and stop looking at what other people are doing in your industry and have quality support around you. And I don't give a shit if you're having to pay for all of it. Right.
Mm.
You'll end up meeting wonderful friends and wonderful people like as you grow in the space and you meet people in life and you call them in. But like,
Yeah,
I mean, I wish I had hired a couple coaches right off the bat
same.
that were specialized in the space. I had and he's amazing, but I had like an executive level coach that was great for like corporate, but he's not in the online world. It would have saved me so much time. Like if the person was honest and gave me the play by play, right?
Mhm.
And not
Yep,
everyone does that. But if I got the play by play and doing more subconscious energy type work,
totally.
if I'd done that from the beginning, that would have saved me more time and made me more money very quickly.
If I had invested 2 years earlier, it would have changed the game for me.
But then why don't we? And I had all the money in the bank to do it. And I didn't. I think I didn't know.
Mm-mm.
Genuinely, I didn't know. I did not know how much time it would have saved me, how much stress it would have saved me,
Yep.
how much more money I would have made. I genuinely didn't know.
I didn't
If
know.
I knew, I would have absolutely invested in it. I would have been an idiot not to.
I didn't realize the extent of it. I didn't realize like what a timeline jump it would be to have somebody tell me and help me move through and figure out what to do. Like I just had no idea. I didn't know what I didn't know because I came from a world where that this just wasn't a thing where I came from.
Right, right. It seems like when you're already not sure and you're like, is this really going to work for me? Am I really doing this? It's hard to then invest even more money in doing it
Totally.
because you're like, am I like sometimes I'll go, am I like I want to be like a household name. Like I want to like be right up there with a Mel Robbins. And then even this morning I was like, am I delusional? Who am I to think I'm like that? Right? That's the other side of my brain going back and forth, right? With
Like,
that. And if you're thinking, well, this isn't really possible. This is crazy. Well, of course, why would you invest in it?
totally.
Time, energy, or money. Why would you?
Totally. Yeah.
I think I want to touch on this as we're wrapping up. I don't think people realize the potency and the payoff of attending a highly curated retreat because a retreat sounds like a vacation, okay, to people. And that sounds like a luxury and it sounds like a nice to have. I can't speak for, I mean, there's a lot of people's retreats I'd never go on. So I can't speak for all of them. I can speak to yours. And it's like, it can seem like I'll do that when I'm making more money. I
Mm,
will do that once I'm at a certain level in my business. Or how can I even tell my partner that I'm going to spend X amount of dollars on this? He's going to just think like I'm going on a vacation with a bunch of girls.
yeah. An interesting thing happens at my retreats that I've witnessed. I had a Tulum retreat last year. I just had a retreat in Sedona, and now I'm planning my next Tulum retreat. And these retreats, the idea behind them is space, step into the white space to really refresh yourself. And this thing, I really noticed it in Sedona a few weeks ago, is that we're together doing healing work. We're creating white space. We're doing breath work. We're having sound healing. We're doing ceremony. We're having delicious, nourishing food. Food is very important for me at these
Oh,
retreats.
the best food.
Very important. And because you're having so much white space to connect and to be with these other successful, soulful female entrepreneurs, the ideas that ping in the white space, because there's no space for them in the day to day. You don't have space for them to come in. But then they come in and I hear the conversations. I hear one of the girls that owns a restaurant is trying to build her business. And then I hear everybody eating dinner, talking to her about how to grow the business. I hear the realtor talking about what's going on in her business. And then people are workshopping it. And it's like this excited community of how can we help you? Oh my God, I have an idea. Wait, I'm in a different industry. This is what we do in my industry. Let me help you. Oh my God, wait, you're writing a book. I want to write a book. How are you writing a book? Who's helping you write a book? Who's publishing your book? Wait, I'm a coach. You're doing this with your business. What about this offering? We're there, we're doing spiritual healing, but we have this space. And all of a sudden, you have this community of people around you who are helping you take those ideas and ground them down into reality over pasta and a margarita.
And a drum circle underneath the moon with
And a drum circle
with an
underneath the moon.
amazing fire that Regina built, like a
Secret,
fire built herself. And all of
secret
a
skillet
sudden I
mom.
was like, I don't know what I was doing. I was doing something else. And I look outside, I'm like, there's like this like raging, gorgeous fire. And I was like, and it wasn't like a pre-set up like situation. Like this was a from scratch deal. And Regina's out there. I go, what is going on? You're like, I built a fire. I'm like, oh my God, another thing that you can do. It was unbelievable. It's like that. Yes, it is in a beautiful space because you deserve to be in an abundant space. This goes back to like my make more and work less. Want to
Yeah.
make more and work less? Put yourself in an abundant space, get
Uh-huh.
yourself in your most abundant mind. I made, I would say, because I was promoting my new
Uh-huh.
workbook when I was there, I made $30,000 when I was in Sedona, not
Yep.
paying attention. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I posted some content, literally.
Yeah.
And I knew that was going to happen going into it. And it happens every time
When you're
because
when you were in Tulum last year.
Exactly. My energy is clean. I'm free. I feel expansive. I feel abundant. I'm not tied to an outcome. I know I'm being served and supported and taken care of. And so it is. But so my point is, I see it, and maybe this is just my business strategist mind. To me, this is a no-brainer business investment. In fact, I personally feel it's a better investment than a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like if you have to make a choice, which I'm not really about that, I'm more of an and person, but if you have to make a choice, it's like, I don't know anyone who leaves your retreat that isn't going, God, I really needed that. And that's why people keep coming back.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, God, I really needed that. I don't know anyone who's like, oh, what a waste. Like, I didn't need that. It's like, yeah, you need more of it.
You need more of it. We need more space. And to have somebody really intentionally curate a space for you. At my retreats, you show up and everything is taken care of you. Every meal, every activity, you're given so much white space to have fun, to play, to nap, to do whatever you need to do. You don't have to worry about anything. As women, how many places do we go that everything is taken care of for us?
No,
Nowhere.
even if you went on a trip, okay, to like an all-inclusive place, my guess is you had to plan the whole fucking trip.
The whole fucking trip.
And like if you have kids, then you had to like arrange all of that and you had to do more of that. And it's like, yeah, when you take everything off the plate, even if it's for 3 days, whatever, think of how much more creative space and room and bandwidth and energy you have to intentionally put somewhere else.
Yeah.
What's the website they can go to? We'll have it in the show notes. It'll be here in the description on YouTube as well. There's a cap on how many people, you guys. So make sure you go look at the page. But what is it?
If you go to breathewithreginatulum.com, you can learn more about the retreat and you can apply. We have an application process because, like Tiffany said earlier, we are curating a certain vibe, a certain experience. And I want everybody to come to know that like everybody's been vetted. And something I pride myself on, the vibe of my retreats is immaculate. Like,
agreed.
The women just vibe and get along and feel so comfortable and feel so safe because that vibe, in addition to all the other planning, is so curated for all of you to feel good and safe and comfortable and leave refreshed and like a higher version of yourself.
And you can play instruments with me.
There's going to be lots of instruments.
That's the real selling point. Beat a drum with good old Tiff.
Drum with good old Tiff. DJ dancing under the moonlight.
So good because we get to be our most abundant selves while we're having fun and playing and play more and not be so serious in the business of being serious. That like snuffs out everything.
The value of play, we just as grown-ups underestimate it. And having an ability to play while doing healing work, while connecting with women, while being on the fucking beach in Tulum is like, it's everything.
That's the holy grail to me. And it's out there and it's here and it exists. If I knew this shit existed when I was in corporate, which I don't know if it was even a vibe, oh my God, I would have been at every single thing. Instead, I was at corporate retreats where you have to do trust falls and like rope courses.
Had a bunch of fucking dudes planned.
Terrible. And then you're at like some old like steakhouse for dinner and you're having the same conversation.
Oh my God.
Same drinking thing. And then I'm getting obliviated in order to deal with it. Then I feel like crap the next day.
I'm dead. You're just talking about my legal career.
Yeah. I think anyone who's like been in that world, it's the same thing on repeat. And yeah, it's funny how they do that. Or I've been taken fly fishing. That wasn't orchestrated by old white men. Yeah, that's what I really want to do. I want to get eaten alive by mosquitoes and fly fish.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it was.
No, we'll have drum circles under the moon and like go swimming in our private beachfront ocean. Like,
exactly. That's more what it's about. Well, any other follow-up questions that you guys have after listening to it, drop it in the comments here on YouTube, Project Me TV. You can also DM Regina or DM me. Both of those are going to be in the show notes as well. And let us know, like, hey, can you I'd love to know more about the secrets of what are your burning questions about things in the industry, the shit that you can't Google that you would love for us to peel the curtain back and dish on it.
We love to talk about this stuff.
We love a dish.
Any question?
Regina and I give great phone.
We give great phone. Any question you guys have from this episode, please ask it. And you know that we will answer it.
1,000%. All right. Love you. And I've got to go get waxed. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.